Shedeur Sanders' future in pro football?
I don't think it's in Cleveland.
Can he be a starter in the NFL?
I think he can. I think he has a lot of maturing to do, Urban. I really do. I think both as an individual and as a quarterback and learning to play within the scheme. I think there's a lot of drifting and sliding out of the pocket. I think there's this innate, because of the way he played at Colorado and throughout his college career, there's this kind of like hero brand of quarterback that he likes to play where every play has to be a home run and he's got to run around and do all those things. He had the bad tendencies that Caleb Williams had that he developed at USC, but he doesn't have the arm and the mobility that Caleb possessed to get out of that trouble.
Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. You prognosticate on quarterbacks. Even if you just wanted to roll out Shedeur Sanders content about why you like every other player besides Shedeur Sanders, you're going to do a lot of numbers. You're going to do a lot of numbers because you feel like this is triggering. But let's trigger everybody, and we'll diminish what Shedeur did during the regular season, and then we'll talk about why I believe that this quarterback is better than him or translates or whatever the case may be, right? But there's a pattern here. You did it last year, and it dominated the news cycle because these narratives about what Shedeur Sanders was or wasn't, his interview process, whether teams liked it or not, was he wearing headphones or was he disrespectful? Did he wear jewelry? Did the Giants like him? What did Brian Dable say? Well, let me just tell you something. I don't give a what Brian Dable think. He fired. He gone. He been out of here. He should have been worried about the quarterback that he had in Jackson Dart instead of worried about spreading propaganda about.
Should Sanders' future in pro football? I don't think it's in Cleveland. Todd McShay, Urban Meyer segment plus G. Bush pushback clip. G. Bush just went nuclear on Todd McShay, and the entire sports media world is scrambling right now. G. Bush just went nuclear on Todd McShay. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's begin. Man, here we go again. The second I heard Todd McShay start warming up that maturity talk, I already knew where this was headed. You could feel it coming like thunder in the distance. Same tone, same little smirk in the delivery. Same lazy setup where they pretend they're just asking questions, but the whole time they're really trying to plant a label on a quarterback before the league even gives him a real runway. Because that's the game, right? It's never, let's talk about what he's doing right now. It's always, let's talk about what he might be if we frame him the worst possible way. And with Shedeur, it's like they've got a pre-written script sitting in a drawer somewhere. They pull it out every season, dust it off, and act like it's brand new information. He's gotta mature. Okay, mature how? Where? Give me the clip. Give me the story. Give me the incident. Show me the pattern. Because if you don't have specifics, you're not analyzing, you're projecting. You're throwing a cloud over the kid's name and hoping people just inhale it. And then comes the next buzzword they love, hero ball. Man, I hate that phrase because it's always used like a weapon. It's never used with context. It's never used like, yeah, he had to improvise because the pocket collapsed in 1.8 seconds. It's never used like, yeah, he was down multiple scores and the play caller was begging him to make something happen. Nah, it's just hero ball. Like that automatically means reckless, undisciplined, not coachable, not real NFL quarterback material. And then they top it off with the classic move, compare him to a superhero quarterback, Caleb, Mahomes, Lamar, whoever, and then punish him for not being that exact player. Well, he doesn't have the arm like Caleb. He doesn't have the mobility like Caleb. Okay. And? So what are we saying? If you're not a created in a lab unicorn, you can't play quarterback? You can't win games? You can't grow? That's not analysis. That's gatekeeping. And that's why G. Bush went nuclear, because he saw the formula. He didn't just get emotional for clicks. He broke the whole thing down like a dude who's been watching this movie on repeat and finally said, nah, not this time. And you could feel the energy when he did it. Thousands of people locked in. Clips getting chopped up in real time, social media moving like wildfire. Because when somebody finally says what fans have been thinking, it's like the whole community exhales at once. They said maturity. Not specifics, not film, just maturity. They said hero ball, but don't mention the context. They said not Cleveland, like they own the future. And I'm telling you right now, this is bigger than one podcast clip. This is bigger than Todd McShay having a take. This is about who gets patience in the NFL conversation. And who gets treated like a problem to solve before they even touch the field? This is fans versus gatekeepers. Locker room reality versus podcast narratives. And if you're paying attention, you can already see the cracks forming in the story they're trying to sell. So yeah, buckle up. Because now we're about to break down exactly why this take is falling apart in real time. All right, now let's actually talk football, because this is where the conversation always gets funny to me. Everybody loves to argue labels. QB2, QB3, camp arm, depth piece. But that's not how teams actually operate, and that's definitely not how players feel inside a locker room. What matters right now isn't where his name sits on a chart, it's momentum, it's trust. It's who guys believe in when the cameras are off and the meeting room door is shut. And when you really zoom in, you start to see why this situation isn't as complicated as people are pretending it is. Fit matters. Not vibes, not headlines. Fit, scheme, play caller, protection, weapons, and expectations. Is the offense asking the quarterback to play superhero every snap? Or is it asking him to be a surgeon, get the ball out, stay on schedule, punish defenses for mistakes? Because when you watch this situation closely, what you see is a quarterback who actually fits the structure better than people want to admit. Quick processing, rhythm throws, comfortable operating inside timing concepts. That's real NFL stuff. And yeah, the offensive line hasn't been perfect. Let's be honest about that. Protection has been spotty. There are snaps where pressure shows up early, where the pocket isn't clean, where the quarterback has to make something out of chaos. But here's the thing, when he does play well, when the ball comes out on time, when drives are sustained, suddenly it's not about him anymore. Suddenly it's, well, the scheme really helped him. Or, the coach put him in great spots. Or, the infrastructure deserves credit. Wait, hold on. So the system gets the praise, but he doesn't get the future? The coach gets the credit, but the quarterback doesn't get belief? That's the contradiction nobody wants to sit with. Because if the infrastructure is so good that it elevates average quarterbacks, then why isn't the guy executing it being viewed as the answer? And if he's not the answer, why does the offense look functional when he's out there? You can't have it both ways, but that's exactly how the conversation is being framed. And then you zoom out to the depth chart. Every franchise wants options. That's normal. That's responsible roster building. But there's a difference between competition and denial. Once a quarterback shows he can function at NFL speed, once he proves the game isn't too fast, the moment isn't too big, things start shifting quietly. Reps change. Install decisions change. How teammates talk about you changes. You don't hear it on press conferences right away. You feel it in body language. You see it in how receivers run routes. You hear it in how linemen talk about our guy. And fans feel it too, that energy flip where belief starts to spread faster than skepticism. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Once that flip happens, the front office starts doing math. Contract math, timeline math, business math. Because one or two real performances don't just change opinions, they force decisions. So ask yourself this. If the building is leaning one way, why is the outside world screaming the opposite? This is where the whole thing gets ugly, because once you've seen the playbook, you can't unsee it. This is how the smear cycle works in the NFL media, and Shedeur is just the latest name they've decided to run it on. It starts vague on purpose. No hard claims, no clear accusations, just enough smoke to make people assume there must be a fire somewhere. They'll say things like, teams weren't impressed. Okay, which teams? They'll say, there were concerns in interviews. Concerns about what exactly? They'll say, he's got some maturity issues. And that's the one. That's the nuclear word. Because maturity sounds like analysis, but it's really nothing. It's a placeholder. It lets you criticize a player's character without ever putting your name on a real claim. No incident, no quote. No timeline, just vibes. And that's why Bush immediately pressed it the way fans have been begging someone to press it. What did he do? Where's the incident? Where's the pattern? Because if you can't answer that, then you're not evaluating your manufacturing doubt. That's the fog machine. Flood the space with uncertainty, let people fill in the blanks, and move on before anyone demands receipts. And then comes hero ball, another favorite. Another word that gets thrown around like it explains everything while explaining nothing. Here's what they never tell you when they say that some quarterbacks play chaotic football because they had to survive. Bad protection, broken plays, talent gaps, constant pressure in their face. You don't get to play clean, pretty quarterback when your line is leaking and your receivers aren't separating. You adapt or you die. And the wild part? The exact same behavior gets praised when the right guy does it. Same scramble, different headline. Same confidence, different label. Same jewelry, different judgment. When one quarterback breaks the pocket, it's creative. When another does it, it's reckless. When one talks with swagger, it's leadership. When another does, it's ego. And fans feel that disconnect. We're not stupid. We've watched this league long enough to know when the measuring stick changes mid-sentence. We've seen this before. Jalen Hurts heard it. Lamar heard it. Even early Josh Allen got it. Raw. Undisciplined. Needs to figure it out. And somehow, magically, once the results showed up, the tone changed overnight. Same player. Different narrative. That's why this chapter matters, because this isn't just about defending one quarterback, it's about calling out a system that decides who gets patience and who gets suspicion. And once you see it, you realize the only way out is through. You don't beat narratives with opinions. You don't beat them with podcasts. You beat them with receipts, film, stats, teammates, results. And the crazy part? Those receipts are already stacking up, which is exactly why the noise is getting louder. This is the part they can't run from anymore, because this is where the receipts live. Not opinions, not vibes. Receipts. Real football people, real football language, and real moments on tape that don't care about narratives. When you want to know what a quarterback actually is, you stop listening to panel debates, and you start listening to the people who coach the position for a living. That's why moments like the Bill Musgrave breakdown hit different. When a quarterback's coach starts talking about footwork, rhythm, progressions, that's not hype. That's not protection. That's evaluation. That's a guy explaining how a quarterback's feet tell the story before the ball ever leaves his hand. First read isn't there. Second hitch. Eyes stay downfield. Pocket discipline. Reset. Deliver. That's quarterbacking. And you don't fake that. You either see it on tape or you don't. This is what growth actually looks like in the NFL. It's not fireworks every snap. It's not throwing 70 yards off platform just to go viral. It's the boring stuff stacking up. Getting the ball out on time instead of hunting the big play. Knowing when to take the check down and live for the next snap. Climbing the pocket instead of drifting. Throwing the ball away instead of putting the offense behind the sticks. These are the things that separate talent from trust. And the wild part is, you can watch this evolution happen in real time. Early reps versus later reps. Early habits versus corrected ones. That's coaching meeting, preparation meeting, player buy-in. That's a quarterback not just surviving, but learning. Adjusting. Owning mistakes and fixing them. That's what teams are actually looking for. Not perfection, but progress. And then there's the locker room. This is the part no spreadsheet can capture. Teams don't hold meetings and vote on who the leader is. It doesn't work like that. Leadership gets chosen quietly, spiritually. You see it in celebrations, in who guys rally around after a big drive, in who receivers tap their helmet for, in who linemen protect just a little harder, in who gets defended when criticism comes from the outside. When players start celebrating a quarterback like he's one of them, not a placeholder, not a rental, that's a signal. When teammates go out of their way to show love, to give internal awards, to speak up at the podium, that's not accidental. That's belief forming. That's trust turning into loyalty. And there's a reason the line hits so hard. The The people in the trenches choose their leader, not talk shows, not draft boards. The guys sweating next to you on Sunday choose. And once that happens, everything changes. Because when the locker room leans in, front offices start doing math differently. Contract math, timeline math, marketing math, stability math. Suddenly the question isn't, can he do it? It becomes, why wouldn't we build around this? Why would you reset when the room is aligned? Why would you gamble when belief is already taking root? That's the moment we're entering now. And once you cross it, there's no going back. This is what it all comes down to, the point of no return. Every quarterback story has one of these moments. One game where the noise gets quiet, where the excuses run out, where even the loudest critics have to pause and rewatch the tape. Not because they want to believe, but because the performance won't let them ignore it. That's the statement game. You know the setup, tough defense, cold air biting your hands, banged up offensive line, national audience tuned in, half of them waiting for the slip up so they can say, see, told you, every throw magnified, every mistake screenshotted, every decision dissected. It's the kind of game where quarterbacks either shrink or announce themselves. And here's the part people don't want to admit. Those are the games that matter most. Not the perfect weather shootouts, not the preseason flashes, the ones where conditions aren't friendly and the margin for error is razor thin. That's where belief gets cemented. So I'll say it plainly, in fan voice, with my chest. If he goes out there and does it again, if he commands the huddle, processes fast, protects the football, moves the chains, and puts points on the board, it's over. The debate doesn't die completely, because there will always be stubborn voices. But the direction dies. The doubt stops trending upward. The narrative hits a wall. If he does X again, it's over. And you already know what X looks like. It's not perfection. It's control. It's calm when the pocket squeezes. It's getting the ball out on 3rd and 7 instead of forcing heroics. It's trusting his reads and letting the offense breathe. That's grown quarterback stuff, the kind that wins games in December and January. Because at that point, the chant becomes unavoidable. The film proves it. The locker room proves it. The results prove it. And once all three line up, the league adjusts whether it wants to or not. Front offices start planning instead of speculating. Teammates start talking about when instead of if. Fans stop hoping and start expecting. That's the shift. That's the moment when a player stops auditioning and starts leading. This whole saga has been a warning shot to the media culture around the NFL. The gatekeepers don't control the narrative anymore. Not when fans have clips, not when coaches speak plainly, not when games themselves leave receipts. You can only move the goalposts so many times before the field runs out. And that's why this doesn't feel like a peak, it feels like a beginning. The hard part was getting people to see. Once they see, everything changes. The confidence grows, the trust deepens, the ceiling rises. So yeah, we ride into next week together, eyes open, receipts ready, energy high. If you're tired of lazy takes and you want real breakdowns with real emotion, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, lock in, because the story isn't ending. It's just getting loud.